Okay, now that we've got our first product up and running in JigoShop Shopping Cart, let's take a little more time to look at some of the details involved here. Let's go back to our products here, and we're going to go into our blue soup bowl. All right. Now, you'll notice back here, for example, it says in stock. Now, you may or may not want to have that displayed. We actually said we didn't want to manage our stock. If you notice back here, under inventory here, we don't have this checked off, so we don't want to manage stock for this product. But the sign's still showing. Well, you think, well, maybe I can change it. But the only option I have here is out of stock. And I could switch that over to say out of stock, but I don't want it to show at all. So you've got an option to do that in the back end. Let's go to the settings of JigoShop. So this is managed as a whole across the whole shopping cart. If we go to products and inventory over here, you'll notice it says manage stock. If you turn this off, let's do that. We'll unclick it. Save product. So by default, it says it's going to manage stock for you. Even though you've said for this particular item, don't handle stock for me, if the overall cart says handle stock, then you'll see that in stock message. Now we've turned it off, so we shouldn't see this anymore. Let's refresh, and it is gone. Okay, so no matter what you set here now, if I put this out of stock, it doesn't matter. If I update this, it's just not going to show anything for me now because I've turned off that stock management as a whole across the board. So that's something you'll want to decide fairly early on whether you're going to do that or not before you really get going with the shop. Another thing you want to think about early on is SKU numbers. So your particular number or whatever you've got to designate that particular product. Let's go back to settings here. You'll see under product options here, by default, this is not turned on, enable SKU field. Now there is still a SKU for each product, even though this is turned off. And it explains it here in the help. It says that the ID for the product, the one inside of WordPress, that ID will actually get used as the SKU for the product. Now that may or may not work for you. You may have your own internal numbering system and you want that to show up on orders and so forth. So you really want to set this right off the bat if you're going to use it at all. So let's enable the SKU field. And I'm going to save that. Now when I go back to here, and I'll just help refresh my page here. I'll go back to Blue Bowl. Now, when I look down below under General here, now it shows up as the SKU. You'll notice it already has a number in it. That's the ID for this product inside of WordPress. So at this point, I would start changing it, and give it D9834, whatever it might be. That becomes your SKU number now. And I'm going to update this. And when we go back over to here, there it does. It shows up for us there. Now, you may or may not want that to actually display for people, even if you turn this off, and you may have to do this by turning it off through your style sheet, actually removing it, or if you're actually going to create a template, which would be very advanced, you could actually change it in the template there, but mostly you would do that by CSS. There is no setting back here to say whether or not to show. There's nothing here to say, take away the SKU field to show it, which is unfortunate. You don't have direct control over it. But as I say, there are ways to do it through style sheeting. Most importantly, though, this is going to show up. This SKU number is now going to show up exactly as is, rather than just the ID number. That's going to show up on all your orders. So it's very easy to tell whether you've got the right product or not, because you can tie it into your SKU numbering. All right, let's take a look at another element here, which is the product tags. Now, we've talked about categorizing, and this is always a difficult decision sometimes. What do you put in as a category and what do you put as a tag? Well, here's a good example of a tag. Let's say blue. Okay, I'm going to add that, and you'll notice it sits down here now. I can always remove it with the little X here. But blue would be a good one. You don't want a whole category for blue. If you think of categories as the table of contents for a book, and tags are like the index, in the index you've got all kinds of little details, and here's one of them, blue. So now I could, for example, find all blue items by looking for the blue tag, provided you tag everything that's blue, right? The other thing you could put in here is the manufacturer. So let's say it's Dansk, and we add that. Again, every time you've got a product from Dansk, put it in the tag. Now, you could do manufacturers as categories too. That's another option as well. So you'll have to think about exactly how you want to divide things out. If manufacturers are really crucial to your visitors, then you might want to have it as a category so it's easy for them to sort them all out and easy for you to quickly check off the box for manufacturer. But that's a decision that you can make on your own individually. Let's enable this feature option down here and just see exactly what that does. By the way, after adding my tags, it's always very important to update. And I've now done my feature as well. Let's see where feature shows up here. If I hit shop, I've got a list of all products. Now it's not showing up on here anywhere as featured. Let's see if we do it through the home page. Does it show up there? These are our leftover products from our other shopping carts we were doing. So this is going to depend on your theme, clearly. Depends whether it's going to actually display featured products or not. So you'll want to see if it functions under your particular theme that you're using, especially if you use one of the custom themes from JigoShop. It would definitely do that to show featured products right on the main page there. All right, so those are a few of the other elements you can look at in more detail for adding your products. Now we want to take a look at product options and variations, which is a fairly complex thing, but very powerful here in JigoShop.